We live in an era of absolute visibility. You can pull a device from your pocket and instantly view high-resolution satellite imagery of the most remote corners of the Amazon or the desolate center of the Sahara. You probably believe that because we have mapped the world, we have conquered it. The common narrative is that the age of exploration is over, that there are no blank spots left on the map, no dragons left at the edge of the world. But here is the fascinating, terrifying reality. There are still giants sleeping in the silence. There are massive, towering summits where no human being has ever stood. These are not just hills, they are death zones, religious sanctuaries, and geological nightmares that have systematically rejected every attempt to tame them. Let me show you exactly why these 5 mountains remain the last true frontiers on Earth. You're watching Unclimbed Earth, where the map ends. To understand why a mountain remains unclimbed in the 21st century, you have to understand the evolution of obsession. For decades, the goal was altitude. It was about standing on the roof of the world at Everest or conquering the technical brutality of K2. But as those peaks became commercialized, cluttered with fixed ropes and oxygen bottles, the true alpinists, the ones who chase the purity of the void, turned their eyes elsewhere. They began looking for the unclimbed. Yet, even the best climbers alive today look at these 5 specific peaks and hesitate. It isn't always about height. Sometimes it is about physics. Sometimes it is about politics. And sometimes it is about the terrifying suspicion that we simply aren't meant to be there. We begin with the undisputed king of the unclimbed, a mountain that defines the concept of forbidden, Gangkhar Puensum. Rising 7,570 meters, nearly 25,000 feet, into the jet stream above Bhutan, it holds the title of the highest unclimbed mountain in the world. But Gangkhar Puensum is not unclimbed because of a lack of skill. It is unclimbed because of a collision between the spiritual and the physical. In the 1980s, Bhutan briefly opened its borders to mountaineers. 4 expeditions launched. All 4 failed. The mountain made its hostility clear. The weather patterns around Gangkhar Puensum are notoriously erratic, driven by a microclimate that whips the summit with winds that can strip flesh from bone. However, the physical defense was only the first layer. The local populations have always viewed the high peaks not as geological challenges, but as the citadels of the gods. To place a boot on the summit is not an achievement, it is a desecration. By 1994, the Bhutanese government realized that the spiritual cost of tourism was too high. They banned climbing on mountains higher than 6,000 meters. Then, in 2003, they banned mountaineering entirely. Gangkhar Puensum is now legally untouchable. There is a haunting beauty in this. In a world where everything is for sale, where you can buy a ticket to the top of Everest, Gangkhar Puensum stands as a reminder that some things cannot be bought. It sits there, white and silent, a ghost on the horizon, likely to remain unclimbed forever. If Gangkhar Puensum is protected by law, our second peak is protected by a wall of sheer, unadulterated violence, Muchu Chhish. Located in the Karakoram range of Pakistan, this peak stands at 7,453 meters. Unlike the mountains of Bhutan, Muchu Chhish is open for business. The Pakistani government would happily issue a permit to anyone brave enough or foolish enough to try. And yet, it rejects everyone. The issue here is the Batura Wall. This is one of the largest and most formidable non-polar ice walls on the planet. To climb Muchu Chhish, you don't just have to hike up a slope. You have to navigate a labyrinth of hanging glaciers and unstable seracs, massive blocks of ice the size of apartment buildings that can detach without warning. The approach alone is a nightmare of logistics, requiring climbers to traverse miles of broken glacial terrain before the real climbing even begins. In August 2014, a British expedition attempted the summit. They were elite climbers, prepared for the worst. They didn't make it. They were turned back, not by fatigue, but by the realization that the mountain was a loaded gun. The snow conditions were so unstable that a single footstep could trigger a catastrophic avalanche. In 2020 and 2021, Czech expeditions tried again. They pushed harder, reached higher, but the mountain forced them down with relentless storms and impossible snow depth. Muchu Chhish remains a standing challenge to the world's best alpinists. It is accessible, it is legal, and it is waiting. But it demands a price no one has been willing to pay. Moving east into the remote borderlands of Tibet, we encounter a peak that is terrifying for an entirely different reason: Karjiang I. At 7,221 meters, it is not the highest on our list, but it might be the most lethal. Karjiang is the highest peak of the Karjiang group, and it has a reputation that whispers through the mountaineering community like a ghost story. The mountain is technically savage. It doesn't offer a slope, it offers a vertical face of granite and blue ice, prone to constant avalanches. The few expeditions that have scouted Karjiang have returned with shaking heads. In 1986, a Japanese expedition successfully climbed the sister peak, Karjiang II. When they looked across the ridge to Karjiang I, they saw a nightmare. The summit pyramid is guarded by overhanging cornices, waves of frozen snow hanging over the void, ready to collapse under the weight of a climber. An attempt in 2001 by a Dutch group ended in retreat when they realized the avalanche danger was a mathematical certainty, not a risk. Joe Purier and David Gottlieb, two of the most respected alpinists of their generation, attempted the area in 2010. They didn't even try for the main summit. They knew that Karjiang I is a mountain that lures you in with its beauty and then traps you in a kill zone. It remains unclimbed, not because we can't get there, but because the mountain has offered no survival route. It is a fortress of instability. Now, we must travel to the literal bottom of the world for our fourth entry. While the Himalayas and Karakoram hold the altitude records, Antarctica holds the record for isolation. Here lies Mount Siple. This is a shield volcano rising 3,110 meters straight out of the frozen ocean on Siple Island. It doesn't sound high compared to the giants of Asia, but altitude is relative. In the Himalayas, you start your climb from a base camp that is already at 5,000 meters. On Mount Siple, you start at sea level. You have to climb the entire vertical height of the mountain in temperatures that can freeze boiling water instantly in midair. But the real defense of Mount Siple is its location. It is arguably the most remote mountain on Earth. To even get to the base of the mountain requires an expedition of epic proportions: icebreakers, helicopters, and a tolerance for the kind of isolation that breaks the human mind. There is no rescue here. If you break a leg on Mount Siple, you are dead. If a storm rolls in, you are on your own on a desolate island surrounded by the Southern Ocean. There are rumors, vague reports, that perhaps someone landed a helicopter near the top, or that a rogue explorer made an attempt, but there is no verified record of a human standing on its true summit. It sits in the eternal white silence of the Antarctic coast, a perfect cone of ice that looks like a child's drawing of a mountain, guarding the secrets of the Southern Pole. It is a reminder that on this planet, distance is still a weapon. Finally, we arrive at the most controversial, the most sacred, and perhaps the most misunderstood peak in human history, Mount Kailash. Standing at 6,638 meters in Tibet, it is physically striking. A perfect pyramid of black rock capped with white snow, its four faces aligning almost perfectly with the cardinal points of the compass. But to talk about climbing Kailash is to misunderstand its nature. For over 1 billion people across 4 religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon, this is not a mountain. It is the axis mundi, the center of the universe, the stairway to heaven.
इंडियन ट्रेडिशन में ये अबोध है लॉर्ड शिव द डिस्ट्रॉयर और ट्रांसफॉर्मर who sits in eternal meditation at the summit. To climb it would be to put your dirty boots on the face of God. The ban on climbing Kailash is absolute, enforced by the Chinese government not just for safety but to prevent a geopolitical and religious catastrophe. But the story gets more intense.
In the 1980s, the legendary Reinhold Messner, the man who climbed Everest solo without oxygen, was reportedly given the opportunity to climb Kailash. He refused. He understood what many modern thrill seekers do not, that the mystery is more valuable than the conquest. There was a rumor in the late 90s that a Spanish team had purchased a permit to climb it. The international outcry was deafening. Millions of people protested. The expedition was canceled. Kailash remains the ultimate symbol of the forbidden. It is the one mountain where the collective will of humanity has decided that the summit does not belong to us. Pilgrims walk around the base of the mountain, a ritual known as the Kora, covering 52 kilometers at high altitude. They prostrate themselves on the ground, measuring the earth with their bodies, worshiping the peak from below. They understand that true reverence requires distance. Kailash will likely never be climbed, and in a world where we have trampled everything else, that is a victory for the human spirit. So, what do these 5 peaks tell us? They tell us that the map is not the territory. We can photograph them, we can measure them with lasers from space, and we can study their geology, but we cannot possess them. In the golden age of alpinism, the question was always, can we climb it? The answer was assumed to be yes. It was just a matter of time and technology. But these 5 peaks, Gangkhar Puensum, Muchu Chhish, Karjiang I, Mount Siple, and Mount Kailash, have changed the question. They ask us, should we climb it? There is a distinct psychological shift happening in the world of extreme exploration. The old colonial mindset of conquering nature is fading. It is being replaced by a terrifying respect for the forces we cannot control. When you look at the face of Karjiang, you aren't looking at a sporting arena. You are looking at a geological event that is indifferent to your existence. When you look at Gangkhar Puensum, you are seeing a boundary line drawn by culture and faith. The existence of these unclimbed peaks provides a necessary counterbalance to our modern arrogance. We need places that are off limits. We need mysteries that aren't solved. If we climbed every peak, if we put a flag on every summit and a webcam on every ridge, we would lose something vital. We would lose the capacity to wonder. We would lose the humility that comes from looking up at a jagged line of rock and ice and realizing that we are small, fragile, and temporary. Future generations of climbers will look at these mountains with the same hunger we do. Technology will improve, drones will scout safer routes, heated suits will make the cold manageable, but the fundamental nature of these beasts will not change. The ice on the Batura Wall will still be unstable. The winds on Siple will still scream across the Antarctic waste, and the spiritual shield around Kailash will remain impenetrable. These mountains are the guardians of the unknown. They remind us that Earth is not a garden we designed. It is a wild, violent, beautiful engine that was here long before us and will be here long after we are gone. For the true explorer, the unclimbed peak is not a failure of human ambition. It is a triumph of nature's resilience. As long as Gangkhar Puensum stands virgin and white against the Bhutanese sky, the world retains a little bit of its magic. And perhaps that is exactly how it should be. The map may be finished, but the territory is still wild. And in that wildness, we find out who we really are.